Okay, man. 600 pounds down on a very much amazing Friday night. And sorry, folks, we are about 9 minutes late on the live recording, and I am not going to mention any names, but George, uh, he's the reason. Let's be realistic. He's the
It
reason.
is totally my fault. It is my bad. I'm sorry. It's today was the day that my computer wanted to have technical difficulties, but fear not. We make these shows happen. So you're on my phone. I got my buds, and so I appreciate everyone for their kindness and understanding. And if you don't understand, then again, that's my fault. So I take full and utter blame for that.
He takes full
But
ownership. Full
take
ownership.
full ownership of my lateness. You know what it is? I suffer from a condition called time blindness.
Mm.
It's time blindness. It is totally made up and fictional. However, um, it sounds appropriate. So
You should just stop. Just stop. Speaking of time blindness, I want to talk about something, George.
okay,
So I want to talk about implants.
okay, all
Okay.
right. That's left field, but I'm digging. Let's run. Let's run with
Now, I only said implants just to get views. Not to get, I
it.
want people to be like, oh, he's talking about. I wanted them to hone in a little bit, but I probably just ruined that because anyway, it's going to go into something. Okay, implants is part of the discussion I want to have. I was hoping you would have more of a shocked expression, just for more shock and awe factor. So let's try that again. So
Okay.
George, tonight I want to talk about something unique, and
Okay.
I want to talk about implants.
Whoa.
Yeah. So thank you. All right. Sorry, guys. We just like to have a little fun. So anyway, I say all that because there's something about, and I use that term just to get a little pizzazz, like whoa. But let's talk about body image these days. So I put that out there because there's so many people, and I want to be careful how I tread on this water, right? I want to
Mhm.
say we're not anti, where you're at. If you're a person who says I had to get implants, if you're a person who says that there's a purpose for this and a reason, or if just you wanted to do that, I understand like where your mindset might be. But I'm talking about the people who just find their identity in that stuff, right? So like implants or even, I mean, not just breast implants, but like butt implants, man, like booty implants. I mean, people get that done, right? And I just noticed that gym culture or the culture of health and wellness has become like a show, like a platform for people to, you have to look a certain way. Like dudes shoot up just to get a pump and just to look good, like just to put out some Instagram post or some stories or reels. And I just feel like people are, who's the real deal anymore? How can you tell? Like when I look at my journey, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I look at my journey and say, I just want to be a healthier guy. Of course, it'd be nice to have some broad shoulders and a chest and have a good, I mean, but I don't see myself having the like the Superman pose, just like you're doing right there. I just don't see myself having like a six-pack ab. Like I guess I just want to be healthier. And I look at health and wellness as a journey to become the healthiest me. And looks, I mean, yeah, they matter to me, and yeah, I understand, like I want to look good, but I don't find my identity in that, and it doesn't influence me um to keep going. I just want to be the healthiest version of me. Do you have any information on this yourself, or like have you noticed this in culture at all, or do you feel like I'm just talking about nothing?
No, no. I think what I do think is I think that social media has not helped in this regard whatsoever, especially with on-the-fly editing. I don't know if anyone's familiar with this, but you can pretty much on any kind of device at any kind of level really Photoshop a picture these days.
Mm.
I mean, quite honestly, guys, if you are online and you're looking at your Instagram fitness influencers, your Facebook influencers, your TikTok influencers, and their photos. I mean, they can even do this with videos too. I mean, they're ab etching. They're putting tan lines in. There's a shrunken waist, broadening shoulders. I mean, it's crazy. And you, like Justin said, you really don't know who's doing it.
Yeah.
You really don't know who's doing it. But I mean, I'll speak for myself personally. I think I've shared this on the pod before, but for the longest time, especially when I first started, I was chasing that six pack, bro. Like I was chasing it. Like I was relentless with it. I mean, I got down to like a scary low weight for myself too. And it was, I was just, it was not a good chase. It was a race that I should never have been running. And, and I'll tell you why I was chasing it, because everybody else had it.
Mhm.
Everybody else had it. And it seemed to be, if I had a six pack, man, I'd like made it. And the problem is that because of all the weight that I lost 110 pounds. And my midsection, brother, it's never going to be taught. It's never going to be taught. And I might have like semblances, but like that peak, like insta abs that people got going on, it's never going to happen. And it's not because I didn't have the willpower to get there. It's just because of what I have put my body through. And the thing that I needed to understand was, is that I had my own journey of success, and my final outcome of success is not going to look like someone else's final outcome. Comparison will kill your
Mm.
dreams, man. Like I saw that post you put out, Justin. I saw that post. I follow. I'm listening. I'm paying attention now. Okay, that comparison, that comparison pill that people like to take, you know, that race that is never finished. That you will never finish that race, guys. If you are looking to compare yourself to pictures and people and the 1%, that is a race you will always run and you will never finish it, because the finish line will always move.
That's You're absolutely right. The finish line will always move. That's a great way to put it too. And I look at my teenage son, right? And he's my stepson, but I call him my son. His culture, his like the school he goes to and the friends, his friends are good friends and kids are good kids. But in culture in the school districts now, in this age group, I'm telling you, man, these guys, you had to have such a defined jawline. You had to have your hair a certain way. All these kids look the same, by the way. All these boys, like down there like mops, like their hair is just all the same. And no offense if you have that haircut, but I'm just saying, like it's everywhere. Be unique and be different, right? Be different. So, but it's so much pressure for these kids to like live up to, and you got to have a certain this and a certain that and a certain this, and they literally find their identity in that stuff. And what if they don't fit the mold though? Like what if that doesn't happen? They feel like they're ostracized, right? Like nope, you're not part of this. And it's just they do everything they can. You got to have a defined jawline. You got to have hair a certain way. You got to have I mean, there's so much. Those are the two things that stick out to me, right? In particular, clothing, of course, that was always around. But I'm just so interested. It's interesting to me how much things have changed, especially in the looking, department and how you look.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was, I mean, I guess the takeaway to that would be this. It's really hard to keep up that image. Eventually your body is going to fade. Eventually your body is going to get older. You can do anything you want to keep it young, Botox yourself. You can go get some laser reductions, things like that. You can do what you want. But ultimately the body will get older, things will sag, things will go downhill. But in the long run, your health is what's most priority, because that is what's going to get you through a longevity. That's what's get you through a long life and a good quality, not just quantity, but a quality of life. And that's something that I think people should take care of and not be vain about this whole thing. If you're vain about it, check yourself in the mirror. Just make sure your perspective is in the right place. Do this for the right reasons. It's not bad if you want to look good, but understand it never should be your primary focal point. Get yourself healthy so you feel good, and let that become your confidence booster, because that will change things and how you appear and how you look. Anyway. All right. We have George, we have a really great guest tonight. Have you heard about this guy? Have you heard about him before?
I've not heard about him before. However, I've heard about him now.
Yes.
And the longevity of this thing.
Yes.
Is probably one of the most impressive journeys in as far as longevity I've ever seen. The commitment level, is incredible. It's inspiring, really. Justin, how many? Well, I don't know. Do I want to jump the gun on this, or do I want?
We want to build this up, man. Come on.
All right, Justin. How many days is this guy been doing his thing?
889 days. That is today. 889 days. That's over what? 3-6. That's almost 3 years. Is that over 3?
Yeah.
It's almost 3 years. That's
solid.
Yeah.
Solid. And let me tell you this too. Your aesthetic health is only reflective of your internal health. Okay. So your internal health is far more important than the aesthetics that appear. The aesthetics will come,
Mm.
but man, that commitment level for 889 days, that is a mentality. That is a mentality that is going to be a focal point in reaching your goals. I kid you not. It starts up here. You've got to make the decision, and you need to make the decision today. There's no better time to make a decision than if you make it today. Let me tell you that right now. And this gentleman made it 889 days ago, and he woke up every day making that decision, and it shows. Well done, brother.
Yeah, this is good. That's good. Boom. Okay. We're done. Like, that's all we had to say. Like, your story's like amazing. No, we'll have him come on in here in a moment. We have our friend Josh Major right up next here on, well, my favorite podcast. Hopefully it's yours too. 600 Pounds Down. We'll see you in a minute.
And I was given a death sentence at the age of 16. I became a slave to food and to fear. 799 pounds. 799 pounds. But here I am today, 600 pounds lighter. And I'm here to share my story with you to help you improve, to help you find your way, and to help you become a more motivated person. I'll be your inspiration. Here we go. Let's do this.
He's been on the Today Show, The Doctors, in the National Enquirer, and in newspapers and magazines all over the country. Don't miss the 600 Pounds Down podcast featuring Justin Willoughby.
Alrighty then, we have our guy, Josh, 0-time Grammy Award winner, as it says.
That's
going on next year.
Maybe next year. Oh my goodness.
Next year is his year.
That's right. How are you, man?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you guys?
Man, we're pumped. Like, when we heard this story, I think I was talking, I don't know if I told you this, George, or it was my other friend, Josh. George, like Josh, I was talking about Josh Major for a little bit. And I was like, this guy, I really want him to have him on my podcast. I was really excited to have him. I think I messaged him like 2 years ago. Josh, I don't know if you know this or not, but I messaged you like a year ago or so. And I'm like, he didn't even read it. Like, he gets so busy, right? And I'm setting him up here because this is his life. Like, he really does talk to a lot of people and does his thing, and you'll hear more about that. But I was like, I really want this guy because I was so intrigued by his story. I was like, this reminds me of my commitment level. Like, I see that in him. Like, I want this. I just want to go meet this guy. And he never responded. I'm like, man, but it was okay because the podcast like stopped going on anyway. So now we're back. But and we got him. He messaged me. Actually, my friend Josh Hatcher said, hey, you need to get this guy on your podcast. And I said, I tried getting him. He didn't answer me. It was like a year or so ago. And he said, try it again. So I went and did it again. And all of a sudden I get this message response. I'm like, hey, there he is. And now we connected. So Josh, all that to say, man, I'm so happy you're here.
It's great to be here.
I love it. Oh, George, let's kick him off. You want to kick it off?
I was going to say, brother, you are the guest, and so we want to have you do most of the talking. So we're going to ask you questions, and you just run it off for us, all right? We're going to chop it up.
All right, let's
So my first question, okay, so 889 days. Phenomenal, by the way. Fantastic. I can't congratulate you enough. That is seriously a phenomenal feat to make that decision every day. My question for you, and I guess this is kind of the basic question that we give all of our guests when they come on. What made you do it?
So about 900 days ago, at the time I was at the tail end of an Amazon delivery job, but I weighed 450 something pounds at that point. And I was slowly losing my mobility. Like, walking was way more difficult than I remember it being. And just kind of existence as a whole was, love that voice crack there. Existence as a whole was just sucky at that point. And they ended up letting me go at Amazon. And I was like, well, I need to do something. to like change my life, because I felt myself getting worse every day. And I had some friends going to the gym, and I was like, you know what? I'll go with them in Spear, because they were a few towns over. And that kind of just kept happening.
So when you got intrigued by the gym, by your friends going to the gym, so did that influence you to start a journey? So you said, what was your weight when you were at Amazon?
So I remember the highest I remember it being while I was at Amazon was in the high 440s. I might have hit 450. And then at the doctor's office, it was 462.
Okay, 462. Got it. So when you said they let you go, like, was that was that because you weren't in good enough shape to keep up? Or what, is that part of your weight issue, or what was that?
So I don't think my weight was an issue with that. For the last 4 months of my time there, I was actually the lot attendant for my DSP. And so whenever the other drivers would come back, I would just like check their van in, make sure it wasn't damaged, make sure everything went smoothly on return. And I was coming up on 2 years. Like, I was just shy or just over 2 years, and which would have been another like $1 raise, I think. And I feel like they just found an excuse, like too much undocumented damage is what they told me, despite my Excel spreadsheet with everything. But I was like, well, that sucks. And then they did the same thing to the guy who replaced me once he came up on his year. So that was unfortunate.
So would you, when your friends started going to the gym, when you started doing that in Spirit, so like what did you start with, as far as just movement, mobility? What were the first things that you did?
So the first day that I actually went, I had a goal, because one of the friends had posted that they had hit, I want to say it was a 7 or 6 minute mile on the elliptical. And I was like, that's easy. I've done that before, like 15 years ago. But I was like, I'm going to do that. And I got on the elliptical, and within 3 minutes, I was just like out of breath. My heart was beating insanely fast. And I felt like I was just going to drop right there. And I was like, wow, I am way more out of shape than I thought. And so I did cardio mostly at first, incorporated weights later.
Yeah.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah. So I was going to say, like, I noticed he's definitely hitting the weights pretty hard today. I see it. Like, I follow every day. I'm always watching, whatever he posts a reel or some post on Instagram. I'm like, oh, this guy's getting it, Anyway, you had a question, follow-up question, George, go ahead.
So did you find that it was easier to do cardio at first rather than go headlong into weightlifting? Did you find that to be just an easier, as far as like the mindset is concerned? Like, okay, if I'm going to start doing something, let me just start with just basic movement, getting my heart rate up, and then I'm going to transition into the weights.
It's hard to like think back that far, just like what was going through my mind. But I think it was mostly just, what can I do to benefit me the most in as shortest time as possible? I was like, cardio, like that's probably the best one.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, a lot of people do start there. I know when we encourage people today, it's usually like, hey, go for a walk, right? Or just to start out. I mean, when morbidly obese, like what I was at one point in my life, I remember just standing up and sitting back down. That was my exercise. Or sometimes it was just when I was in bed, I would take a tennis racket and hit the ball against tennis racket, and that would just kind of give me some mobility. I had a bar in a hospital that I would lay on the bed and a bar above me, and I would try to pull myself up a little bit, like just to get some mobility in my back and get something flowing into my body, right? Some blood pumping in my body, my heart rate up a little bit. So yeah, we just encourage people, just start moving, just start doing something, because it will do some wonders to your body just by moving your body. I mean, it's amazing what happens from that. So I want to rewind back, and I want to look at your life. I want you to give us kind of like an overview of what your life was like at your top weight, around the 440s ish. What got you there? Like, what was your way of eating like? What was your activity level like? What was your hobbies like and things like that? Like, what made you, is there an underlying issue? Maybe it was like, for me, it was anxiety and panic attacks and food addiction. That got me to a bad place. But do you have something that triggered you to get to the maximum weight that you were? I want to go from there, because it's important that we paint the picture of your history so we can appreciate the next step that you took to become healthier. So let's paint that picture for us, if you don't mind.
All right. So when I was at that weight, I'd actually, like I said, I was at the tail end of the Amazon position, which was a pretty active job. I was moving a lot. And when I started that position, I was 370. And over the 2 years I was there, I gained 70 pounds or so. Just because they would put me later on in rural routes, and the gas stations that I would stop to use the restroom, like every time I would stop there, I'm like, oh man, they got chicken strips or like pizza pockets here. And like, how can I pass that up? It's like $2 for 7 of them. And it just like kept happening day after day. And on my days off, like I had just recently moved to Tulsa, where I live now, and everything was open later or 24/7 sometimes. And there was just way more access to the food that I was constantly like to eat, just different fast foods. So I spent a lot of time just not doing anything except playing games, eating fast food.
Would you say you had a food addiction at some point?
So I would like to say no, but I feel like every addict of anything would like to say they don't have an issue with it. But yeah, like I definitely had some addictive tendencies towards food. It may have not have been specifically an addiction. It may have just been like something that mentally made me crave these things. But yeah, I was probably addicted.
Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to admit addiction, right? It's like, no, it's not me. No, you start scratching. You got, like that little itch that you need to scratch, right?
I can put down this cheeseburger anytime I want.
That's right. As you're eating it.
Yeah.
Oh man, George and I both are no stranger to George. Really, he shared a lot even last week, or a Monday, I should say. Food is it's just so easy to come by, right? It's there, it's present. And realistically, there are things out there that aren't healthy for you that are so cheap, and it's easy just to say, like you said, there's 7 chicken tenders here for like $2. What a great deal. Like that's easy. That's a no-brainer for people who are just hungry or just want something to eat, right? So yeah, I'm not a stranger to food. I'll tell you what, man, I was the king. I could out-eat all y'all. I know I could. I'm just going to say that right now. Like and the guy in the back, that's who I was, right? So that 799 pound guy, like I would go to Subway and buy 2-foot subs or 1-foot sub, right? They had 1 foot. Then I would buy foot, and then I would have the chips and 2 bags of chips. Give me 2, I'd double meal. Like, just give me that double meal. Afterwards, I want like some cookies. I mean, I just gorged myself because I enjoyed the flavor of food. That's how sickening this addiction became for me. And I didn't see it. I could eat. I think I ate maximum was almost like 50 to 60 chicken wings in one sitting at one point. I would consume like 3 of these, plate-sized pancakes. I would have like 5 or 6 of those. Very easy. Like just keep piling them on. And then on the side, some eggs and sausage. And it's so gross to me now today. And I just because I know who I was, and I look at that and I'm like, that was me? I consumed that much food? Like I was blind to it, but I knew deep down there was an issue, but I didn't want to face it. And people would tell me, put that down. What are you talking about? I'm not eating that much, right? So, and George isn't a stranger either. I know he what do they call you, the Hoover?
Well, I mean, they still call me that. But I mean, dude, and that's the thing, because that guy is always in there, right? He is. That guy's always in there. I was an emotional eater, and I still fight with that. I still wrestle with that. When life gets tough, when life gets hard, food doesn't talk back. Food doesn't cause anxiety. Food doesn't yell at you. Food doesn't create any issues. in your social circles, right? And it's just that vicious cycle, man. It's just it. And like for me personally, I'm just gonna say this up front. I keep no sweets in the house because it's just not a good idea. It's just not a good idea. And but yeah, and you know, Justin, Jen talked about this too, and I think this is important because both all of us, what keeps getting talked about is this convenience factor. And you know, life's busy, guys. Life is busy, and there's a lot going on, and it's just so easy, isn't it, to go in? Because I mean, what's what's more cost effective, the 2 for $7 torpedoes at 7-Eleven, or me having to make a fresh chicken salad that I bring with me that can, you know, it's so much easier to grab the 2 for $7 torpedoes. I mean, it just is. It's there. Someone else made it. You don't have to worry about it. And man, let me tell you what, fatty carbs taste amazing. Okay. I mean, it is great. And but I think we get caught up, and I think it's more than just the food aspect. I think life is just nuts. I think life just gets crazy, and we lose focus, don't we? We lose focus on we get caught in the dark, and we forget that we're supposed to live in the light.
Hmm.
You know, we get stuck in our depressive emotional state for something that's going on in our life, and that's all we think about. That's all we try, and we self-medicate with that. And you know, we can only it's like we can only focus on so many things at one time, and then something goes to the wayside. And for me personally, and I know for Justin, Josh, I don't know, maybe you can get in on this too. But if we decided to just say, screw it all, I'm just going to go back to who I was, man, we could act like we almost never left, couldn't we?
Hmm.
I've actually done that before, so yeah, I know exactly.
Yeah. No, that's that's good, George. There's a lot of truth to what we talk about. I mean, it's very relevant probably to a lot of listeners, and nobody is abnormal in that thought process. Like we have to just identify we don't want to go back to who we were, because who we were, or maybe you're in that spot right now. You're in a spot right now where you're identifying, man, I'm in an unhealthy place with my food. I'm in an unhealthy place with my normal daily life, my exercise, my stress levels, my sleep schedule. Like you can look at that and you want a way out of that. Some of us who've escaped that may look backwards and say, oh, I want to, tempted to go back there, but knowing what's back there, look in the rearview mirror and you see that and you're like, you don't want to go back. And you gotta put some things in place to not go back. And I want to go forward here with Josh's story too, because he has 889 days of really not going back. Now, I will put out there, and I don't know, but I'm going to assume that Josh, within the 889 days of your health journey, and I remember, man, you had an injury come up and you had to take a step back in particular ways that probably you were used to, like the cardio and stuff. I want you to talk about that too. But were there any relapse moments for you in 889 days?
So constantly, yeah, like if you've been like following the journey for a while, you know, the weight loss like didn't really start happening until recently when I actually focused more on my diet. But it's basically every 4 months or so, I would start seeing weight loss, like 20 to 40 pounds. And then like it would kind of slow down or stop. And I'd be like, oh man, time to go to Taco Bell. And I don't know why I would do this. And it was just so difficult to get back on track after I like made that decision to continue eating how I was before. So like I would just go up and down on the scale, and it seemed like every time that I did that, I decided to do less and less cardio, which kept my weight like as it was. And by the time that injury hit in January, I was basically doing maybe 10 minutes of cardio per session 3 times a week. and that's like almost nothing.
What injury was that, by the way?
So it was in mid-January. I have not revealed the actual cause of the injury publicly so far.
You're here first.
Yeah. It was a very snowy and icy weekend down here in Tulsa, and there wasn't like much ice or snow, but it was just enough that I fell out of bed. I wasn't outside. I fell out of bed. That's how I broke my foot.
You know what, brother? It happens, man. It happens. It happens.
My dog, like, I honestly don't know exactly what happened, but my dog likes to sleep like on my legs. And I woke up and my foot was asleep. I started to get up and I took a second step and just collapsed. And so I had no feeling in the foot that was broken. So I don't know if I stepped on something, if I like hit something, if I caught it on something. It was just broken and swollen. And I'm like, I'm fine. I'm good.
And what, I'm just picturing that right now. Like I hear it in my head, like little snap. I just not fun, man. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's not a good place to be. So that's discouragement 101 in that, right? Like recognize that happens. And now we got to find a way to cope with that. And people find ways to cope with things. And usually it's what made them comfortable to begin with. And a lot of times that's just the amazing, tasty foods, or that could be something, alcohol for people. That could be pornography. That could be going out with other people to the bars. That could be drugs. I mean, you put in there what you want as the the crutch or the stretcher that you use. And a lot of times they go back to that. But you didn't let that keep you down, right? Because how did you come back better than ever after that?
Well, like the initial like news that I couldn't go to the gym was actually like heartbreaking to me, just because it had been like become so much of my identity at that point. And so I like worked out at home, and you're right, like I did like go to food like what I could. I actually couldn't move very much for a while, but I was like eating anything I could get my hands on at that point. And the best thing I could do was just work out from the couch. And like later I was working out in my living room and then garage. And I'll come back to the story later. The funny thing, the day that I broke my foot, I had anticipated it being too icy and snowy to go to the gym. So I had ordered a little treadmill to use in the garage for that day because I wasn't sure I'd be able to go to the gym.
Oh man, I thought you were gonna come out and say you got a bionic foot or something of that nature. Like you were like Iron Man. No, but I hope everyone's listening to this, because I want everyone to be hearing what we're talking about right now. So we're talking about an 889-day journey. Okay. Now, we're not talking about just this robotic decision making every day. I want everyone to hear these ups and downs, because here's what that shows us. It shows us that we're not perfect, and you know what? That shouldn't shock any of us. Anyone listening, any of us here, that shouldn't shock anybody. We're not perfect, because what it encourages us to do is when we falter, when we stumble, when we fall in that way, it's a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason. It's not how many times you fall down, it's about how many times you get back up. And for that decision making, it boils down to your personal integrity. I think this whole weight loss thing, diet thing, workout thing, health, wellness, all of that boils down to an integrity of decision making. You have made a decision. And for us here, we have now made that decision a public decision. So we're accountable to everyone watching this live stream right now, let alone the people in their personal life. So now we have an integrity of person. I don't know about you guys, that holds me accountable. That holds me accountable greatly. Because if I go to work tomorrow and I start eating cookies, everyone's going to be like, George, were you not just on the pod last night, talking about this thing? And you're like, you know what? You're right. You're right. Hold me accountable. I want that accountability. I need that accountability. So for anyone watching, when you falter, when you make a misstep, remember the integrity of your decision. Because that, my friend, is going to be the basis by which you get back up.
I like that. That's deep. Accountability, integrity, they really go hand in hand even, right? I mean, we need people to hold us accountable. Josh, did you have anybody holding you accountable throughout? Like you said, you had guys you went to the gym with, but did you have accountability partners as you were doing your routine?
It was mostly the people that I was in touch with that were going to the gym. At that point, I didn't try to make a lot of friends, and I didn't know a lot of people at the gym at that point, but I still kept going and would at the end of my videos, not on Instagram but on TikTok, I do like a little mirror pose where I'm throwing up the 4 Horsemen 4 from wrestling.
Woo!
Yeah.
Ric Flair, baby, let's go.
You just made a friend in Justin Willoughby.
Let's go.
But I started doing that just to show the boys that I had been to the gym, and that started 4 days before I even started posting. I started posting on day 5, and it was just a way to show that I had been done it, and for them to keep me accountable on that account.
Your 889-day journey, do you post for accountability purposes, or kind of let's talk a little bit about that, right? So you had, I don't know if you had 889 posts of day by day, but do you post for particular reasons? What's your motivation behind posting? I mean, Instagram, you have how many followers?
296,000.
That is crazy, man. That's amazing. So you blew up, right? You had some viral. Do you remember the video where what made that go? Do you remember?
So I genuinely don't know exactly what the catalyst was that launched me to where I was. So on Instagram, I barely used it. I mainly just posted on TikTok, and I was like, oh, I'll use Instagram as a backup. I heard it might shut down TikTok. I'll just start posting on Instagram. And I started posting on there, and in February of 2023, I had 87 followers. I began posting more frequently in November 2022, and really was consistent in posting in February. Yep. And by the end of March that same year, 2023, I had 130,000. A post that I made had 18 million views, and it was
holy crap.
Yeah, I forgot to post for 4 days, and I'm like, I'll just throw them all on one post. And so it was 4 consecutive workouts of me, and I don't know why it blew up like it did, but yeah.
You just never know. But
you gotta tell me your secret, man. Holy crap.
That is amazing. It just comes down to how things are monetized and how, just right place at the right time, right? But your story's good. That's the thing too. When people recognize somebody trying and somebody doing their thing, it's recognized. And if it gets into the right viewers, it will take off. So going back to your followers, yes, you grew in that many, which is phenomenal. Congratulations on that. And y'all who are watching him, hopefully my audience will say, I want to go join with that. And hopefully you get up to 300,000, baby. Let's go. So that'd be amazing. But when you post, are you doing it for what's your purpose of posting?
So at the beginning, it was kind of a mix of accountability and to grow an audience, like any social media handle is. But really, it was accountability for me going to the gym, to keep me going, to keep me motivated at that point. And that kind of fizzled out once it just became a habit for me. And then I was just kind of posting for the journey's sake, to document the journey as it went along.
Okay. That's good when you can do that. I wish I would have done that more too. you know, because we put in some hard workouts, you know, and it's like, oh man, that would have been good, like a motivator, you know. No, there's something about that. I know several people. My friend Josh Hatcher as well. He'll be on in a couple weeks. You know, he actually he would start out a lot of times posting on Facebook, just saying, hey guys, I'm doing this. And it just puts accountability out there, you know, it just puts you out there in front of people. There's something about others knowing what you're doing to help you just stay successful and stay on track. I mean, it's harder to and with social media today, it's a lot easier to put your story out there and really be held accountable for it, right? So if you're saying, hey, I'm on a journey to get, like right now, I'm on my journey to get underneath 200 pounds. Like I've been there before. I was 199, whatever. I'm like 203 right now. And I am getting so close to that. Was smidgen away. I probably fast for 5 days and it's gone. But I don't want to do that, right? It's not going to stay on forever. So that being said, you know, that if I'm putting it out there now. Oh man, I put it out there now. Well, I guess I got accountability. So
there you go.
we're aiming to get to that point. But yeah, accountability, putting things online, that's a really good journey. And plus, here's the other thing. What happens when you put your journey online? Some people think, oh, this person's conceited or this person's all about themselves. And you know what? That's not true. I mean, there might be people out there. We got some love, Josh, from Karen King. Love you, Joshua. Look at that. We're getting some comments for Josh. Love it.
KC, huh? KC, I live in New York. I'm a Buffalo fan. I love you, but you got
tensions are high. Tensions are high around here. It's not good. Not good. You stole Buffalo. I mean,
it's our year. It's our year.
Y'all always say that. What happens?
It's never our year.
Exactly.
I might be from Oklahoma, but I've been a Seahawks fan for quite a while.
There we go.
Yes, I can respect.
Fantastic.
I can respect that. George, what do you got for him? What question do you have for him?
So my question, I guess, I mean, we've hit on a lot of good stuff, guys. So I'm really hoping that this grabs a hold of somebody because this is good. This is good stuff. But I guess my one question is when you do falter, you know, because we're talking about accountability, we're talking about getting back on the course. So I want to follow that vein a little bit. When you falter, as we all do, what are your thoughts when you think to yourself, I got to get back in it. I got to get back to it.
So I would always tell people, like, because they would come up to me in my comments, be like, hey, I had a terrible day, like didn't go to the gym, or I like did a trash workout, ate like garbage. But I would always tell them just a bad day makes it easier to be better the next day. And I would tell people that, but for me, myself, I would also beat myself up the same way they were doing, like in their comments to me. But I wish I would have kept the same mindset that I like to share, like for my own sake. But yeah, I would beat myself up mentally, but it wouldn't be like too long. I would just move on after a few hours.
Okay. Because that's the thing too, is like, it's okay. It's okay to feel it. It's okay to acknowledge it. I messed up. I did something I shouldn't have done, or I didn't do the thing I said I was going to do. Let's acknowledge that. But let's make that conscious decision again. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to hold to my integrity, to my decision, and we're going to do it again. I don't identify with the failure. I don't identify with the misstep. I don't identify with any of that. We're going to get back to it. We're going to get back at it, and we're going to make that decision again.
I like that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. It's you can't keep a good guy down, right? We're not going to stay down. And, you know, what does staying down do to us? Let's think about that. I mean, if we are. Yeah. Would you be good with that? I mean, Josh, would you go back and would you want to go back to where you were 889 days ago?
Oh, absolutely not.
What? tell me more about that. Tell me more. What's different today versus then? Like what's the contrast of who you were then versus who you are now? I want to know, what don't you miss about who the old Josh was? I know this is a big loaded question. You don't have to give me 1,000 answers, but like, if you could think of one or two things, I mean, we could probably guess some of the stuff, but I want to hear from you.
Obviously, like the weight aspect is a big part of it, but like I have a whole different mindset basically than what I did prior.
I love that. Keep going.
Like today, so I really like had this pop up in my mind today. I was at the grocery store and I was walking through like the frozen foods at all this stuff that I used to just grab and like shove in the cart with no hesitation, but like I was just passing by this stuff, not even thinking twice about getting it. It just like it's stuff that like might sound good, but I don't want it enough anymore to like undo what I'm currently in the process of doing.
Yeah, not going back to the things that you knew would. I mean, your taste buds hopefully are different today too, right? Hopefully.
Yeah. I haven't like tested it out on a lot of stuff, but the things that I have tested, somebody offered me like McDonald's fries while like they had McDonald's and I had my own like meal prepped food. And I was like, you know what? A couple fries won't hurt. And I tasted like it was just like eating a bowl of salt. I was like, has this always been what they're like?
Yes, they have. That's why you have to get the Coke too. Man.
Yeah. I'll tell you guys, like it could be actually an issue today for me. I'll be real. I want to be real. By the way, we have a Seahawks lover in the house as well.
Hey.
My friend Stu loves the Seahawks. All right, go Hawks. I give them some respect. Only when they're not playing the Eagles, I give them some respect. Okay. So, but there's a place and there's a part of me now where I have to remember that food can be enjoyed, right? There can be a moment where it's okay. I try to live life in this balanced state. I mean, there's a season of life where you're going to have to restrict yourself for a temporary time to have long-term gain, right? It's like a short-term sacrifice, long-term gain. But with that, I've come to a point in my life where I have a hard time enjoying myself with food now. Like I'll literally, like my wife and son went out tonight. Like they were thinking about going out to eat after this podcast, right? And I was like, just don't know what I want. And like Chipotle's out there, which is good, but I'm not in the mood for that. And like part of me is like, I don't want to waste my calories or my grams or protein and all that stuff, carbs on certain foods. And I'm thinking to myself, I can sit at home and I could have myself a 4-egg omelet with some cheese for decent protein and calorie content, maybe some berries on the side, and feel fulfilled and satisfied. But here's the problem with that. I miss out on the time with my family because I can't. And what's the win here? Is it Justin getting down under 200, or is it hanging out with his family? Like I can find things to eat outside of here, but it kind of just owns me so much sometimes. And I'll just be real. It happened to me tonight. Like they're out now at a place called McAllister's around here. It's a sandwich shop. And they're out just getting something good that they want to do. And I'm like, go ahead without me. I'll just make something later. And it's a real problem sometimes for me. I have to really check myself and have to really say, Justin, what's your priority here? What are you trying to do? Like, you can find something. There's a salad out there for crying out loud you can have that's decent, right? With some protein on it. You can do that. But I'm like, no, I got to have myself a big omelet. So I got to feel full. It's about me. I make it about me. I say all this just because it's you can go so extreme in the other direction too. Like taste buds can change and all that stuff, and you can ignore stuff and not eat the stuff anymore. But you can also get to a place where you're like, I don't want to eat it because of what if I gain weight? I don't want to eat it because what if I eat too much of it? I don't want to eat, it can get unhealthy. Have any of you had that issue?
Today, I did it today. I mean, the graceful part about my job is that I'm a butcher. I got blood on my hands most of the time. I can't just snack all the time. So that happened to me today. Super busy today. Super busy. Fridays and Saturdays, always the busiest time of the week. But who brought this? Dude, the ladies I work with can bake, gentlemen. Let me tell you that they can bake. And one of the ladies brought in salted caramel cookies today, and I had one. No, that's why I had two. I had two. They were small. I had two. But what about lunch? Well, for lunch I had a wrap, a healthy a wrap, and then tonight for dinner, having a pound and a half of beef with a crap ton of eggs. Where's Larry Petrie, by the way, with my eggs? Larry, if you're watching, comment eggs. Okay, but yeah, man, today I was beating myself up over the cookies. Can I have cookies? They were great. Was I going to eat 10 cookies? No. But I got to enjoy something that everybody else enjoyed. And I'm not going to break my calories. I eat a lot more calories than Justin does, by the way, just because of the nature of my job. I'm able to clear 3,500 calories maintenance. And so, these two cookies is not going to break the bank. I get to enjoy a little something, and it's nice. But that doesn't also mean I get to just fly off the handle for the rest of the day either, right? Doesn't mean because they have shareable bag of M&Ms there, Oh, you eat a whole shareable bag? Yeah, my hand shares with my mouth. Yeah, it's a wonderful time. But we don't go there anymore, do we? I used to.
Yeah.
Don't go there anymore.
Yeah, you're not alone. And what about you, Josh? Do you have anything?
So it's weird just because of how my taste buds have changed, and so I don't find myself craving a lot of the things that I would accept. But and somebody had recently told me the more you say no, the easier it gets. But also the more you say yes, the easier it gets to just keep accepting it. And that kind of helps me if I'm in that kind of situation. But one thing that has always been a weakness for me is movie popcorn, movie theater popcorn.
Preach.
And I've went to the movies a handful of times in the past 6 months, and each time I'm sitting there all right, just have a little bit of popcorn. You don't have to eat this entire large thing. But the past 2 times I had to get a small just because I would eat some, but I actually didn't feel like eating the rest of it. So I was allowing myself to have it, just I didn't want the full thing.
Yeah. So it was I'm glad. And you want to get to that point. I call that food freedom. I've talked about this before on the podcast. The food freedom is a good place to be, where your mind lines up with your appetite, hopefully. So where you're at the place where you can say, hey, a little bit's okay. I'm done with that. And there's a big momentum shift when you can do that. When you can limit and you can say, I kicked tail on this. I just said no. And it feel like it's like a domino effect from there, or an avalanche, right? Starts with one thing, just one little beat going down, all of a sudden it gains momentum and really starts to swoop down. That's what it feels like for me when I have a winning moment. And it's easy to not easy, but it becomes easier over time to, like you said, say no to those things. That's a really good topic to hit on. But I do want to be mindful of our clock here too. We are approaching our hour mark, and so we have about 6 minutes left ish. So I want to give Josh the floor too. I want to finish his story here. So Josh, kind of take us on the journey now. You talked to us a little bit about what your diet approach was like. You weren't very active, your old ways of life. Now you're a person who you started with cardio. You had a little setback here and there. You started weight training today. For a while now, not just today, but you started weight training for a while. You're seeing results there. What's your body feeling like now? What's your new routine feeling like for you? Do you feel good? Do you feel like you're on top of your game? Give me some information on that.
I do. Yeah. I feel probably better than I ever have. like even like through all my workouts, even if they're a little bit intense, I did actually suffer my first overtraining incident last week.
Nice work.
Yes.
I,
But don't do it again.
I didn't know it could cause anxiety attack. I was terrified.
Shoot, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't know that could happen. But yeah, I pushed myself too hard, too many days.
When you say anxiety, what happened? Like, so what did you experience? Like, tell me what led to an anxiety attack?
So like, I don't know what caused it. I just woke up feeling like that. I thought it was just because my alarm, like it's music on like randomized music. And I thought it was just because it scared me awake. But like, I just felt that kind of almost like a tightness and a like feeling like the boss just calls you into the office for no reason. And I just felt that all day. And then part of the next day, and I was like, that's something.
So working out, when you do some harder cardio or you lift weights for more, a lot of times that adrenaline hormone starts to get like amplified, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes that'll stay elevated for a time, which creates anxiety. And it's supposed to adrenaline's good. Like you want adrenaline. That's what you get, when, like you said, boss calls you and it's like, okay, I'm ready to fight. You don't want to fight your boss. I'm not saying that, but you want to definitely like get ready for that, right? You're on your game, or you see a bear. You're like, I'm going to kill that thing and eat it for bear meat. Like that's what that's for. But unfortunately with anxiety, it can stay elevated and then boom, especially if you're a person who just elevated it by working out harder. So that totally makes sense. I've had that happen to me before as well. And it's not a good feeling. So tell me, moving forward, you have 200,000 plus people watching your journey. You're probably growing in followers every day, which is awesome. And guys, if you have not followed him yet, if you're watching this or you're listening to the recording, please go visit. Is it Jama Jorsh? Joma Jorsh?
Yeah, it's actually just my name, my first name split like with my last name in the middle of it.
Nice. That's on Instagram. So go follow him
Joma Jorsh.
Yes, go follow him on the gram. It'll be in the notes too. So if you all didn't hear that well, just make sure it's the right guy. Josh Major. Okay, it'll come up Josh Major. All right. Josh, you have people following you. What are some questions you get a lot? Like, what do people ask you about? Like, I'm sure they message you. I'm sure they look for your opinion on things. Like, what do you hear a lot of, and what's your usual response?
So there's a lot of people asking specifically, how do I lose weight? How do they lose weight? And I always just go over the same exact thing. Just get started with some type of workout and find, like, you don't even have to follow the same type of meal plan that I'm doing. Just find something that fits, like works for you and like helps you stay consistent.
Mm-hmm.
There's also the question I get a lot about what workout routine I do. And I just kind of tell them to start off with what I started off with, push-pull legs, and just integrate cardio somewhere in there. Supplements, I get a lot of questions about supplements, what I should be what they should take, and what I personally take. And I'll just tell them what I have in my cabinets right now. There's a lot of one-off questions I get, but those are really the big three that I get.
Okay, all right, and I'm sure you get a ton. Yeah, I'm sure people are just curious, like, well, how do you? I mean, I don't think we ever said how much weight you've lost. That's pretty much not good from us. I'm sorry that we didn't say that. We were more impressed with in the sense of like the longevity of your journey. Like that's amazing, right? 889 days. But how much weight have you lost?
So as of this morning, I am from April 9th, which was 459 pounds. I am 98 pounds down.
Nice.
But
Fantastic.
if I'm going all the way back to 462, I am 100 pounds down as of this morning.
Yes.
Boom.
Nice work.
There it is.
Nice work. I love that. George, do you have any closing questions for him?
Where do you go from here?
That's a good question. Just keep going until I find somewhere to be.
There we go. I guess it's always there's always a race that can be run, right?
Right.
Do you have a goal, Josh?
I really didn't beforehand. I was just like, I want to lose weight, be healthier, and that's still the goal. Like, there's so many possibilities now. I didn't realize I was as strong as I was, so I might like go into the more strength training aspect, try to like do competitions for that, or go the other way with getting really lean and like bodybuilding stuff. But it's all up in the air at this point.
You basically could become like George or myself. We both are two different people. George is this jacked.
Okay, hold on.
No.
Oh, okay. I'm the jacked one.
Yeah, you're the
Bro,
jacked.
you weigh. I'm under 200 pounds now, man. Like, I'm not jacked. I'm streamlined.
You're streamlined. Okay. Well, you know what? You pick who you want to be. You can either be George or Justin, okay? And I'll pay you
Dude.
$20 if you pick me. That's all.
I guarantee you. I will just say this. I'm gonna say this on the pod. I'm gonna say it right now. Justin is more jacked than George. I will say that.
I don't know about that. Rock, paper, scissors. We'll see who wins. Arm wrestling match. Man, Josh, so good, man. I really enjoyed having you on today, and if you wouldn't mind, I'd love to invite you in the future. George and I would both love to invite you in the future because your story is pretty fun. It's fun to follow. Part of the purpose of our podcast as well would be we want to follow journeys. Like we find it very interesting, because it's not a one-hit wonder. It's not like I'm not the same person I was last year. You're not gonna be the same person when you get to day 150 or 200, or I'm sorry, 300, where are you at? 1,000, I should say. I'm like shorting you a little bit, man. I'm sorry. Get to that 1,000 mark. It's like, hey, we gotta call this guy back up and see where he's at today. And maybe you'll be like 115, 120 down, right? And the one thing I want to point out, which I feel is really, really awesome, is your loss is this slow and steady pace. My last question I have for you, I have another follow-up question in a minute because I want to give you an opportunity to speak to your audience and give them some, input. But do you have any issues with excess skin?
So as of right now, I don't. I'm still pretty heavy, so the skin's kind of full right now. But I can definitely tell where there's going to be an issue with that. Just because of the way it's like getting a little bit more elastic in some areas.
Okay. Yeah, because I had some issues. I had some surgeries completed because I had some excess skin. Like I still have some on my body. And it can cause some insecurities if I'm not careful because like a lot of little kids will look at it and they'll like stare at me and it's kind of awkward. But like I'll just like shake it at them. No, I was kidding. So but yeah, I'm just curious. Like, but you losing it slower like you are, you probably have less likely of a chance of developing like too strong or too much of a sagging skin. But George, I think you had some skin issues too in the past, haven't you?
I still have skin issues. So I lost 100 pounds. I lost 90 of that in a year.
Yeah.
And I have what looks like love handles and a muffin top, but it's not. It's skin. It's always going to be there. So like I'm a 30-inch waist, a medium shirt, and so like I have love handles, but it's not fat. It's skin. So that honestly, you want to talk about body image, Justin, going all the way back to the beginning of the app. That's hard sometimes, man. I should be able to wear a slim fit tapered shirt and just be a freaking inverted Dorito. And I can't. And I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
It's something I gotta learn to be okay with.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of hard work that got put into this body. And there are times where I'm like, I kind of feel like I got gypped. But at the same time, it's a conversation starter. Yeah. You gotta recognize where you've been and where you are.
Mm-hmm. I love that. No, that's really good. That's good. You have to recognize where you've been to know where you are. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. All right. Love this. Lots of discussion. I love how we go like we're all our episodes, we just kind of go all over the place, but there is a theme, we promise, and it's the story of Josh, right? That's where we're at today. So, but in all the stuff that we discuss along the lines of topics are very relevant, right? Because it's weight loss, it's fat loss, it's becoming healthier. So Josh, last question, and we are going to, you get the rest of the night off. So there you have it. But if you were to talk to someone today about their journey, we've asked this normally to our guests. what would you tell them if they're looking to get started, or maybe if they're just kind of struggling on their journey? Like, what would you say to them to encourage them or to help them get into a good headspace again?
So something that's been really in my mind is just don't be afraid to accept help or ask help from others.
Yeah.
It might seem like daunting to either ask others or like there might be something holding you back, but it's not going to diminish like your own progress. They're not putting in the work for you. They can't put in the work for you. You're still doing everything.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Mm.
I love that. I think as men, we have a hard time with that. I think men do. Yeah. This is good. No, good stuff, Josh. I appreciate you being here tonight. We'll definitely be sharing this. It's streaming right now, right? But then we'll be sharing the replays on Apple Music. I'm sorry, we don't share Apple Music, Apple Podcast. And we also share it on Spotify and Amazon Music. So it's going to be good. I'm sure you'll get a good amount of views and listens. It's going to be great, man. And hopefully people will catch on again. If you you can look in the description of this podcast. If you want to know Josh, his Instagram tag, you can find that there. And then we'll have him on again. It's going to be a fun time. But anyway, Josh, thank you so much. Great story. Love having you. Appreciate you being on here.
Thank you for having me on.
Welcome, man. Have a great night. All right. So good guess, man. That was great. We'll just wrap it up here. Josh is a class act. I mean, that was a great story. What's your takeaway, George?
Yeah, man. Honestly, with that, we kind of got into the more of the mindset of the whole thing, didn't we? And I think that's something that deserved to be hit on. And I think that Josh's story really emphasized those points. 889 days, man. You don't get to that without making a consistent decision most of the time.
Yeah.
And I think that really speaks to mindset. And I think this was an excellent opportunity for us to be able to delve into the moral fiber, I think, of what it takes. Because it takes to do these stories. I mean, these stories, that's hard work. And the moral fiber that it does take to make this decision on a consistent basis, not a permanent basis, because we're all human beings. We all falter and fall and whatnot, but on a consistent basis, I think really speaks to the integrity of the people that we've been talking to. And here's the thing. Here's what's up with all that too. Anybody who's watching this right now, that could be you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody. And that's the thing. Other people can do it, but I can't.
Mm-hmm.
Who says?
So why?
Who says? You?
Yeah.
Well, you're a majority of one, and you got dozens of other people who have done it. So who's in the minority in that decision making then? You can do it.
Yeah.
It'll be hard. It'll be worth it. And Josh, total poster boy for that tonight
100%.
in the best way.
Yeah, 100%, man. That was beautiful. I have nothing to top on that. You said it all. Like that's a good closer. So none of you are exempt from the possibilities of becoming healthier. It's that simple. So look at this story of Josh. Look at his accomplishments. Look at his journey that's still happening in front of you. He's not making excuses, right? He's doing his thing. He knows there's going to be good days and bad days, but he's not going to let those bad days distract him from trying to have a good day, right? Still trying to find the results. So he's doing it. Go follow him. Go check out his journey on Instagram, TikTok. We'll get his tags going for you in the description. You guys have a great night, and we'll see you not this Monday coming up, but next Monday with our friend Josh Hatcher. It's going to be great. All right, guys, you can do this. Get it going. We'll see you next time on 600 Pounds Down.
And I was given a death sentence at the age of 16. I became a slave to food and to fear. 799 pounds. 799 pounds.
799